Summer has officially kicked off for Fire Emblem Heroes, and to not much of a surprise, we have a second Three Houses Summer themed banner. This year you can get summer versions of Caspar, Mercedes, Ashe, and dual pairing of Hilda and Marianne. We'll be talking about everyone's stats, skills, and go over general playstyles and build ideas. Our 4-star focus unit is going to be Summer Caspar, and you can get him at 4-star and 5-star rarity. As a unit, Caspar makes his Fire Emblem Heroes debut as an Axe infantry unit. Sadly, we don't have any gauntlet type weapons yet, so Caspar's had to get creative with his weapon. For stats, he has 46 HP, 41 attack, 36 speed, 30 defense, and 23 res. Summer Caspar will have the highest base attack for all Axe infantry units at a staggering 41 base. He even has an attack super boon, but a res super boon would also balance out his defenses. While 41 attack is very nice, Caspar's 36 base speed is just as surprising. This is going to put him as one of the most offensive Axe infantry units, and he's a 4-star focus unit. He's basically got the high attack of Ross, but the speed of Echidna, and that's going to make Caspar a very fun unit to build. For all skills, Caspar brings Smite as his assist skill. He then has Bonus Doubler as his 4-star skill, and even Attack Wave to use it. If you want to play with field buffs, maybe take advantage of Ashe's No Panic, then this will probably be the easiest way to get a hold of Bonus Doubler for a while. For his weapon, Caspar has the Victor Fish Plus. For this 14 might inheritable axe, at the start of combat, if the foe has more than 75% HP, grants plus 5 defense, inflict minus 5 defense on the foe during combat. Additionally, if the foe has a defense bonus, grant bonus to unit's defense and inflict penalty on the foe's defense equal to that current bonus. Victor Fish and the other summer weapons on this banner basically use the same effect that Freya's B skill introduced. You kind of steal the enemy's field buffs and use it against them. It sounds complicated, but basically if the foe has plus 6 defense, Victor Fish will inflict minus 6 defense to cancel it out, and then give Caspar plus 6 defense to use. The foe's field buff is still active for things like Blade Tomes, but numerically it's just getting cancelled out during combat. Normally Victor Fish will be a basic plus 5 defense boost and a minus 5 defense debuff, but if the foe has defense field buffs, then that last effect is going to kick in. Not the most insane weapon ever, but it does counteract defense buffs, which means it's good in physical brawls since Caspar is going to take less damage and he'll deal more as well. You don't want to use this weapon with something that neutralizes defense field buffs, since then nothing's going to happen. Stat-wise, Summer Caspar is pretty impressive, especially as the 4-star focus unit. You can build around his super high base attack very easily, and you can even build around speed skills if you want. Victor Fish should be able to get a stat refine, and if you go with the defense 1, that's another plus for defense. It could basically give you plus 9 defense to work with, and that only goes up if the foe has their own field buffs. I wouldn't say this is a super crazy inheritable axe because it does rely on enemy field buffs to fully proc and only grants plus 5 defense, whereas some axes apply minus 5 attack, which translates to plus 5 defense and plus 5 res effectively. Still, its HP condition is relatively easy to achieve. Just keep in mind that if you're fighting multiple rounds, then it may not be active at all for low health foes. If you want a super simple build, you could just go with quicker posts and stack extra attack and defense. Obviously, you want more buffs to best used Bonus Doubler, and Bonfire is a good special. If you want to go for more premium skills, then that also opens up Caspar's weapon choices. With the Victor Fish, you could use low attack and speed because it disables attack and speed buffs and not defense ones. Ninja Masakari is going to be super scary on the highest attack Axe infantry unit, and Caspar has the speed to go for a quad build as well. Pelagian Axe is now pretty dang good thanks to menace skills now available. If you want an easy plus 5 attack and speed, then the Springy Axe does just that, and Caspar can use all the good speed skills like attack and speed solo, Swift Sparrow, and no follow-up. If you want cooldown reduction, go with Huge Fan or add Heavy Blade. Deck Swabber is amazing for solo builds. We have multiple guard axes, and then there is the armor effective Sling Hammer. In my video on Fernand, I briefly discussed that if you just wanted a super basic Fallen Edelgard counter, then he had the stats to pull it off. Caspar is similar to Fernand with a lot of attack and enough physical bulk to survive a hit, but with like 10 more speed. If you aren't going to go for a high range project, then maybe the super simple Slaying Hammer, Quicker Post, and whatever basic attack and defense skills you can grab would work to stop a rogue Fallen Edelgard. If you are going for a high merge project, then you just have so many options. You can take inspiration from plus 10 Rosses, Echidna, or even Ninja Hana. Fantastic 4-star focus unit. Next is Summer Mercedes, who will be a Red Mage Cavalier this time. For stats, she will have 38 HP, 39 attack, 25 speed, 17 defense, and 38 res. Mercy will have attack and res super boons, which is great, but her low speed and super low defense is not good. A bit min-max for fighting only magic damage dealers, and without lots of speed investment, expect to get doubled a lot. For old skills, Mercy will have Icebreaker as her special, no surprise. She then has Attack and Res push 4 for even more attack and res stacking. For her inheritable red tome, Mercedes has the Peachy Parfait Plus. Not much else to talk about, this is just a res version of the Victor Fish. As a tome, Peachy Parfait will be best for mage versus mage battles unless you run Mystic Boost to handle dragons. Again, try not to use it with field buff neutralizing skills since that will completely stop the last part of the weapon from activating. For other new skill, Mercedes brings Attack and Res Far Trace 3, enable Kanto remaining, and inflict -3 attack and res during combat. We had a speed and res variant of Far Trace, but this one will help you tank a little more damage. Range Cavaliers can use their 3 movement to actually use Kanto after making a move. Flyers can use these to stack more stat debuffs with their Rain C skills. In terms of stats, Summer Mercedes is similar to other raid mage calves like Legendary Lilina or Duo Sigurd, high attack and res but low speed and defense. Problem is that she does not have any of their unique abilities nor a unique weapon. The best Peachy Parfait can do is continue stacking resistance while offering more damage and then being able to cancel out res field buffs. This is fine since she has attack and res push 4 for +7 more attack and res, and attack and res Far Trace basically adds another +3. Mercy will basically only be able to fight other mages unless she can one-shot physical damage foes. She's going to get doubled a lot, and any physical damage dealer will just shred her. Combine this with the limited pool of cavalry skills plus the very small selection of good inheritable red tomes, and it's going to be tough to deal with non-mages. If you want to go all in on res tanking, you can try Close Ward with quick riposte. Close Ward was on one limited time unit though, so good luck getting it, but it does provide adaptive damage to counter dragons and it grants +5 attack and res. You can swap Close Ward for something like Mirror Stance 3, but you'll basically then only be able to fight mages and healers. You can go with attack and res bond as a seal with joint drive res in the C slot and just try to stall any magical damage dealers. The Conch Bouquet from Summer Lorenz last year isn't the worst attack and res focused red tome, but it only works for one fight per phase. It adds some healing if you don't think Peachy Parfait is consistent enough. It's not really terrible with Far Trace since you would be able to maybe Kanto away to escape fighting multiple times in a phase. It also helps deal with the push 4 recoil damage. If you do want to salvage Mercedes speed and defense stats, you can try. For physical threats, attack and defense push or attack and defense solo would help. You can swap 2 attack and speed variants as well. Low attack and speed would be pretty nice, and a menace C skill would be great too, but that goes for pretty much any unit or build. For weapons, the Red Fox Tome at least adds some defense when initiating, but unfortunately we can't use things like Sturdy Impact to get both the +10 defense boost and stop follow-ups. Overall, Summer Mercy can stack a ton of attack and res, but that's about it. If she doesn't one-shot her target, then there's a high chance she gets doubled. You can try to add more speed or defense, but how much is enough is up to you. You can do work with full attack stacking, and you can even go with a Blade Tome, but dealing with counterattacks from non-mages is not going to go well. Next up is Summer Ashe making his Fade debut. Ashe is going to be a Lance Cavalier and he'll have 40 HP, 37 attack, 41 speed, 32 defense, and 18 res. He will have a speed super boon and he will beat out Ingrid for most offensive Lance Cavalier. You do need to watch out for magic damage though because 18 res is pretty low. For old skills, Ashe will have Moonbow and Joint Hone Speed. He will then be the second unit with speed and defense near Trace 3. Near Trace is for melee cavaliers and flyers, and obviously we really just want it for Kanto. Ashe is going to have a unique weapon, the Divine Sea Spear. It grants a flat +3 attack, making his offensive stat line even better. This weapon will be similar to the past 2 weapons with some changes. For one, it's always active on the player phase. Then, instead of only focusing on one stat, Divine Sea Spear affects attack, speed, and defense. It only grants +3 and inflicts -3 for the first 2 parts. However, the last part of the effect is the same, just affecting all 3 stats. This is going to be the closest to Freya's B skill, which actually works on all 4 stats. In total, if there are no field buffs on the enemy, then Ashe effectively gets +6 to attack, speed, and defense, but because he inflicts an attack debuff, it's like he's also getting +3 res as well. As you can tell, a lot more powerful than the inheritable summer weapons, and Ashe can steal 3 of the enemy's field buffs instead of just 1. This is a pretty basic stat stacking weapon unless the foe has buffs on them, then things get a lot more interesting. Summer Ashe will also be bringing along Blue Dual Cavalry 4. Just like all the other tier 4 dual skills, it grants +5 HP and +2 to all other stats. Admittedly, not terrible for Ashe, who is just stat stacking anyways, but still would probably prefer one of the more specialized offensive skills. Since this is the Blue Cavalry version, Will we see Reinhardt in the good old arena? Well, if you're going for the highest possible arena score, then you aren't fielding cavalry units anyway, but if you like terrorizing other players who aren't at the top, then sure, why not? You're gonna lose a lot of damage, but whatever floats your boat. In terms of playstyle, Summer Ashe is pretty simple. If you cannot stop his double, he is scary with everything in his kit granting more attack and speed, and he already has the best offensive spread for the Lance Cavalry class. You do not want to use Ashe with a low B skill since his weapon targets 3 different buffs. Near Trace is probably the best option if you wanted more stat advantages. Desperation would work nice as well since Ashe's weapon always procs in the player phase, and that's at least +6 attack and speed to work with. Instead of the dual A skill, you can always go for the standard attack and speed increasing A skills like Swift Sparrow, attack and speed solo, or the new catch skills. For Sacred Shields, we also have a lot of attack and speed options, but Heavy Blade is there as well. Ashe won't have a 4 cooldown Gale Force, but he can make it work if he tanks a counterattack. If you want to be alone with solo skills, Raw Speed and Defense is nice for replacing Joint Hone Speed, and as always, Menace C skills are just scary when they do land. Overall, Ashe is definitely strong, but he will be susceptible to magic, and there are a lot of things to prevent follow-up attacks. He does have Kanto, but I think some of these super offensive calves need something like no follow-up or a dodge type ability, because sometimes stats alone just aren't enough. Last on the list is Duo Summer Hilda and Marianne. This pair from the Golden Deer will be a flying healer with 39 HP, 37 attack, 40 speed, 20 defense, and 25 res. Insane attack and speed stats for a healer, and Duo Hilda will have the best offensive stat spread if you're focusing on speed. She will have a speed super boon, which should be real fun, but a res super boon can help a little more magical damage. Clearly, Duo Hilda is all about high speed, and like Little La Rochelle, this pair will be another healer you can't just ignore. This is further showcased by their skills. Attack and speed push 4 is pretty common for offensive healers, and Dazzling Staff prevents counterattacks unless you bring Nelsie Disrupt. For their unique weapon, Sunshade Staff, it has 14 might with built-in Wrathful Staff. It also grants +6 attack and special cooldown charge +1 per foe's attack for all allies within 2 spaces. Last, if Duo Hilda is not adjacent to an ally, she gets +6 attack and speed during combat, aka attack and speed solo 3. For supporting the team, Hilda will grant Mega Drive attack and cooldown reduction when the enemy attacks for nearby allies, and this is a pretty dang strong ability. Many units don't get cooldown reduction skills like Steady Breath, which is why Bravely Seen It is strong, and while Sunshade Staff isn't the full breath effect, it does work on any ally. Since it procs on enemy hits, it allows units to counter with 2 cooldown specials like Noontime or a slang weapon can proc Luna, Bonfire, Iceberg for a quick burst of damage. Combined with the +6 attack, Hilda's allies can definitely pump out a lot of counterattack damage. Now, while Duo Hilda will not benefit from any of those effects, she still gets Wrathful Staff to pair with Dazzling Staff, and she has an attack and speed boost. Very similar to Little La Rochelle with support buffs, but it also has tools to take out foes for themselves. For their dual skill, when activated, inflict -7 attack and isolation on foes within 3 columns or 3 rows centered on Duo Hilda. This dual skill does recharge every 3rd turn as well. Isolation is quite rare, so if you do not know, it's a status effect that prevents the unit from using assist skills, and it also prevents allies from using assist skills on them. Basically, you can't use heal or dance or rallies, whatever. For this dual skill, it is pretty generous 3-column range, and it also goes horizontal as well. The -7 attack debuff is good for on-demand debuffing if you don't really need to stop any enemy assist skills. For the most part, Isolation is strong against units like Dancers, and this is great in Aether Raids. The main problem is that Aether Raids also has the Duel's Hindrance structure, which is not uncommon. Unless you take it or the enemy dual hero out, then well, Duo Hilda can't really cast Isolation on those nasty Dancer setups. It's still a viable strategy if you don't see Dual Hindrance a lot, but just keep it in mind that maybe you shouldn't rely on this dual skill in all of your attacking teams. Next, Duo Hilda introduces a new healer assist skill, Nudge Plus. It restores HP equal to 50% of the healer's attack stat, and it's going to push the target 1 space away. This is basically a heal plus shove, and it's another skill that will not charge special, nor does it grant XP or SP for whatever reason. Nudge is definitely interesting if you can keep your healer behind the front line, that way your tank or whoever can protect your healer from more attacks. However, it's also easy to send your ally into more danger, so you gotta be a little more careful with this skill. Last new skill Hilda has is Even Recovery 3. We recently got the return of Odd Recovery, and now it gets an Even Turn variant. At the start of Even Turns, restore 20 HP and neutralize penalties on the allies within 2 spaces of unit. Very powerful healer only skill that is basically some extra healing as well as a cleanse from debuffs or status effects. It's ironically another way to stop Isolation, since Isolation is a status effect and Even or Odd Recovery would just get rid of it at the start of the turn. Obviously, it's every other turn, but what happens if you ran both on one team? Besides the wackiness of having 2 healers, I feel like it could be a strategy for a defense team that just wants to huddle and ball together. You can stack multiple units with drive type buffs, and you got 2 healers in the back providing healing every turn and getting rid of any and all debuffs. I definitely feel like a healer in the future is just going to straight up have these effects on a unique staff of their own one day. There's not a ton to discuss as far as healer playstyles go. If you can heal, then good job. But Duo Hilda and Marianne can for sure provide more for the team. Sunshade staff is great for many types of teams, and Hilda just has to stand back without doing anything. If you do need some colorless magic damage, then she has the Wrathful plus Dazzling Staff combo, along with built-in attack and speed solo, and then attack and speed push 4 on top of incredible base attack and speed stats. As a flying healer, Duo Hilda is not going to be stopped by terrain, so she's going to be very scary, and she can abuse flyer mobility skills. She can use aerobatics or flyer formation to make more attacks, or maybe use nudge to push someone forward, or she can use the Air Order Sacred Seal to mobilize an entire flyer team. For most of her base kit, it's fine to keep, although I would prefer either return or rescue instead of nudge, although obviously it depends on the situation. Specials can be whatever you like, such as Miracle to stay off a fatal hit, or a bomb plus special. Just keep it in mind that if you use nudge, it's not going to charge Hilda's special, so you do have to fight. If you want to go all out on damage, Hilda can use Far Trace with a Rain C skill, no Dazzling Staff safety, but that's another 7 damage and more speed advantages. Hilda and Marianne are going to be a great healer. Isolation can come in handy for non-PvP modes as well, and it's always nice to have a healer that can double as a colorless mage if you need be. That's going to be it for this banner breakdown. If you're trying to hold onto your orbs, then we have Summer Leone as our Tempest Trials unit. Boy, if you like archers, 2021 has been a good year for the free-to-play ones. We'll talk more about her tomorrow. Let me know your thoughts on any of these units, and if you're summoning, then I wish you good luck. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.